And when you start to trust yourself, you start to like yourself. When you start to like yourself, by golly, you start to love yourself. And when you start to love yourself, you start to feel more deserving because you are deserving, right? You do deserve it. We just need to break through this limiting belief. So the best way to do it is to start building trust with yourself through small daily habits. Build on that, but just never miss. And once you start to work on that self-worth, that self-love, the world is your oyster.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Welcome to another amazing episode of Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, your host, also known as the Private Money Authority. And this is the show where we talk about raising private money for your real estate deals without ever having to ask for money. Well, on today's show, I've got a dear friend and an expert when it comes to raising private money. He's only raised over $50 million so far in this world of private money, and we're going to dig into his head and his heart and find out how in the world he is going about doing this. A little bit about his background. He began his real estate investing career all the way back in 2005 as a wholesaler, and boy, did he get good at it. He became an expert at locating vacant houses and fixer-uppers, negotiating great deals, and collecting big assignment fees. Well, then in 2012, his trajectory changed a little bit, began to use his skills of finding great deals on houses, and he got a business partner, RJ. Together, they began raising private money to buy single-family rental properties. So after they got the houses and they fixed them up, they began to sell or market these properties to prospective, what we call tenant buyers or tenant residences. And they learned a whole lot about the ins and outs of tenant screening. So they successfully built a portfolio now that has more than 80 units in the portfolio, and they keep adding to it every month. We're going to talk about private money and growing your real estate business in just a moment, and you're going to meet my dear friend and guest, Mr. Dave Payerchin, right after this. Oh, my lands, Dave Payerchin is in the house. My friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay, and to everybody watching. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this. You and I always chop it up with the best of them, and so much exciting things happening in our real estate business that I can't wait to share with everybody.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Dave, you can answer this first question as short or as long as you like.
Absolutely.
And the question is, tell my audience, who is Dave Payerchin?
It's an excellent question. So, I am a soon-to-be husband. I'm the father of two twins. I've had, 2.5-year-old premature twins. And, we were in the hospital, Jay. I don't know if you knew this about me. We were in the hospital for 5.5 months. That was life-changing for me. And I want to be the best man I can be every single day. I got 2 daughters. And you know what's something interesting about me, Jay? I quit drinking alcohol. I'm one of those people where, when I drink a little bit, I tend to drink a lot. And I'm like a switch mentality. You flip that switch and I'm go, go, go. Really, in anything that I do in my life, I'll run through walls. I'll do anything. That's just kind of how my personality, that's how my brain wiring is. So I am 100% no alcohol, no drugs, nothing like that. And, we have a real estate business. We have a real estate coaching business. We have amazing clients. And, we're buying. We're very active in the business. We have multiple deals going on right now and all the time, signing new contracts all the time in our real estate business. I'm someone who's committed to personal development. I kind of operate off my operating system is something I call the core 4. And it's the hierarchy of things that are important to me in my life. And number 1 is my relationship to the higher power, to God. We can call it whatever we want, but I'll call it God for this conversation. And that's number 1 in my life. Number 2 is my health. Number 3 is my relationship, specifically my relationship to my soon-to-be wife. And then finally, number 4 is the business. Learned many lessons in business. The biggest lesson is, bigger is not always better. And I used to have a big real estate company, 16 different employees and things like that. And, that was just way too much work. So now we're more of the mind frame, Jay, of keep it small, keep it all. So we have a nice little flipping business. We own a bunch of rental properties, still raising private money to this day. I'm structuring private money notes right here on my desk right now because, I'm somebody who fully understands that private money and what you teach is probably the most valuable thing. Right up there with, like finding good deals, right? You got to learn how to find good deals, but you got to have the ability and the dry powder to take these things down. It doesn't need to be your money, and that's what you teach, right? But I mean, if you're going against somebody, if you're a run-of-the-mill wholesaler and you're out there making offers, and then you're against somebody like Jay Connor, somebody like me who's got a bunch of private money behind them that can actually close, we're going to get the deal every time. So we're a serious buyer, right? So yeah, I believe private money is probably the most important thing in the real estate business. I'm looking forward to talking about that, but that's kind of a nutshell, Jay, of me, and kind of what I'm about.
I love it. Well, you for sure have got, what your priorities are. And I've known you for a long time. We're in mastermind groups together. And you practice what you preach. I mean, your heart shines through, your servant's heart shines through, Dave. You mentioned something, so I'll digress here for a moment. But I was reading an article the other day to where alcoholism is at an all-time high in America for a number of reasons. And there's probably some listeners. We have thousands and thousands of people that listen to this show. And there's probably some listeners that would love to kick that habit and get in control of their life again. What advice would you give them on how to get rid of alcohol in their life?
Well, here's the deal. There's 2 kinds of people out there. There's what I call switches, and there's what I call dials. Let me explain. So a dial is somebody who can have a glass of wine with dinner, and they can kind of, have a good time, maybe dial up a little buzz, and then they dial it back down. They go home, go to bed, and make it a productive day the next day. That's a dial. The other kind of person is a switch. And that type of person is when they start drinking or doing any drug or any mind-altering substance, the switch gets flipped and it's off to the races, and they're going to finish every single drink in the room. If they're allowed to, they're going to keep going until literally they pass out or black out. And that's what I am. So the first things first is just kind of like knowing that about yourself. If somebody listening to this is a switch and they have that switch mentality, it's not a character flaw. There's nothing wrong with you. It's a chemical thing. They've studied this. There's just certain people where when you introduce endorphins and when you introduce mind-altering substance, it kind of drives your brain crazy. And that's what that switch mentality is. So if you have that mentality and somebody wanted to kick the habit, I would say first and foremost, just admit that to yourself. And then, there's no such thing as moderation. Moderation is a myth. When you're wired this way, moderation is a myth. You can try to maybe cut back and something like that. But when you're wired this way, Jay, you just got to go all in and cut it out completely. If you know that about yourself, if you're that switch mentality, you shouldn't try to moderate. You should just cut it out completely.
Good advice, Dave. Well, Dave, before we dive into private money, and you have got a lot of experience in raising private money. Yes. And we've got the same philosophies, I believe, on how we attract it without chasing it.
Yeah.
So share with me and the audience, what is it that you're passionate about right now that you're working on?
For real estate?
For anything.
For anything. I mean, the biggest thing I'm working on right now is like my thesis is I'm extremely bullish and extremely, confident in the asset class of affordable housing, specifically single family rentals. I mean, this asset class is insanely stable. Everybody wants affordability right now in this day and age that we live in. And I believe single family residences provide us the greatest opportunity for success. Number one, there's the most to choose from. You might be thinking, hey, there's not a lot of inventory out there. Okay, we can get into that and how we get our inventory and whatnot. But, it's very difficult. The barrier of entry to get into commercial and multifamily properties is very hard. Single family residences is easiest to raise money on, as you probably know, because it's one lender, one borrower, right? I mean, you can just work with one person. You don't need to set up a PPM. You don't need to set up a syndication, anything like that. When it comes to the residents of these properties, single family residences are way more in demand than a apartment building. People just don't want to live in an apartment. I mean, if they're left the choice between an apartment and a house, they're going to take the house every time. They want a yard. They don't want to just be separated by their neighbor by one slice of drywall, right? They want a house, especially if they have children, right? So I think the affordability factor, people are chasing affordability. Look what was going on during COVID, Jay. Everybody was going to Florida, because they were the most lenient when it came to the rules and restrictions, which is cool. I'm cool with that. But people are getting out of Florida right now. Florida, places like Florida, the Sun Belt. I mean, there's a lot of people leaving there. Number one is because the affordability, the insurance costs are through the roof. And for a number of reasons. I mean, home builders in places like Florida are taking massive price cuts right now. We're just not seeing that in good, solid places like the Midwest where I invest. So I'm very bullish on the affordable housing, single family asset class, specifically in markets where you can still cash flow, like Ohio. I'm out of the Columbus, Ohio market, but we buy statewide. And I'm just licking my chops over here. That's why I'm so busy. It has not slowed down whatsoever. I mean, it's a very stable, solid market, and we're gobbling up as many properties as we possibly can.
I love it. It. So let's dig into private money. After all, this is the Private Money Podcast, raising private money. So it's been my observation, most real estate entrepreneurs that are really good at raising capital and raising money, something happened in their journey, in their career, that to use that switch word again, the switch got flipped.
Sure.
And something caused them to learn about private money and to start raising private money. Do you have a story around that as to what caused you to start raising private money back when?
Necessity. We just had no choice. When we started, we were just kids, we had no money, had no credit. But we did have the ambition. We had the motivation. We wanted to be successful. And there was no way. And it's the truth. There's no way to get in the game unless you're either a trust fund baby, which I certainly was not, or B, you get out there and raise some money. I mean, when we first started, nobody would even lend to us, even DSCR lenders and hard money lenders, because they still needed skin in the game. I mean, we had nothing, Jay. So we had to raise 100% financing. We couldn't afford to work with any lender that needed us to give a down payment. We had to find somebody who would give us all the money we needed for the purchase and the rehab. And that's something that's so important. And I'm sure you teach that. That's why private money is so beneficial. You could get all the money that you need. We needed it. It was out of necessity. And to this day, we raise 100% financing, which is so important. It allows you in your operations. I mean, if you got to come out of pocket every single time you're buying a house, it could really bleed into your operating and your lifestyle and things like that. If you're going to do a scalable business, you got to get that 100% financing. So we started by necessity, Jay.
Yeah. Well, me too. But I was a little bit older than you. I started in 2003, and my first 6 years, I relied on traditional institutional money, going to the local bank and getting on my hands and knees and begging and all that. And then in January 2009, I got cut off like the rest of the world did during the crash. And so it was me too. It was by necessity. I'd never heard of private money. I'd never heard of hard money until I got cut off from the banks. And my definition of coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. So I was introduced to this world and, haven't changed since. So let me ask you this. What would you say is a mistake or some mistakes that you've seen other real estate investors make when they start attempting to raise private money?
I have the ultimate mistake, and that's trying to be, if you have no private money, but you're wanting to get into the game, you should not be turning money away. Like, I've met numerous investors, Jay, where I told them, because when I first started out, I was paying 12% plus 3 points.
Woo!
Because the money was there, though. The money was convenient. It was expensive, but it got me in the game. So if somebody's looking to get in the game and you don't really have a track record, you shouldn't be trying to negotiate the terms too much. I mean, obviously, you got to structure deals that are still going to be profitable for you, but you got to build the credibility. I know people, they just never got in the game because they were always trying to find a cheaper money, but you didn't do any deals. You still are not in the game. So if there's a profitable deal and you got somebody who's going to lend you the money, yes, you could kind of build your credibility and you can kind of work on lowering your cost of money here eventually, but you got to get in the game. Even if it's a little bit too much when you're first getting started, you got to pay to play, you got to earn your stripes, and kind of sucks and you bite the bullet, but that's the start of your career. Because once you get this credibility starting to build, you're going to lower that cost of money, but you got to get in the game now.
Yeah. So what advice? So one question that I get all the time from investors that haven't raised capital, I say, Jay, what's the first thing I need to do? I want to start raising money. What is the first thing I need to do? How would you answer that question, Dave?
You ask amazing questions, and I feel like I have every answer out of my personal experience. I'm telling you, man, because this is exactly what people need to do. You got to start putting yourself out there. Self-worth is a major thing that holds people back. They don't think, hey, I'm just getting started. I shouldn't really tell people what I'm into. There's a fear of telling people what you're interested in. There's a fear of being laughed at. There's a fear of oh, this is never going to work, or some type of inner fear that we must break through. It's a limiting belief, Jay. So the first thing you got to do is just start telling everybody what it is that you're doing. And a good way to do that is start by learning to find off-market deals and find good deals and learn how to analyze deals. And then just start telling everybody in your phone, really, truly. And, I got a good quote. It's the person who educates the market dominates the market. Start offering to just truly, genuinely show people in your existing network the deals and how you analyze deals. There's another limiting belief that says, oh, if I show everybody how I'm finding deals and how I'm analyzing deals, oh, maybe they're going to want to be an active investor themselves. Maybe they're going to go and do this themselves. That's a terrible mindset. No, nobody, these people you're raising money from do not want to be an active investor. They are drawn towards the passive investment, right? That's why they want to work with you. So be willing to share over the top how you're finding deals and how you analyze deals. People are interested in this, right? The reason a lot of people are interested in this. Think about all the people who watch real estate TV shows and stuff like that. People want to be shown. So I would start by analyzing deals, finding deals, and then offering to show as many people as you possibly can exactly what it is that you're doing and put it out there on your social media. We helped one of the people that we coach, Jay, and this guy was he thought he was trying to look cool. He's looking like a gangster online. He's got these crazy stuff. And I'm like, that's all got to come down, brother. If you're going to be an investor, let's start acting it and being it online, telling everybody, look, I'm a business person. I'm a professional. Let's start putting ourselves out there, telling people what we're doing, and be willing to share all the nooks and crannies of how we're successful and how we're doing this.
I love that.
Yeah.
So when you share what you're doing, let's get into the weeds a little bit on the strategy. Are you doing picture posts on Facebook? Are you doing live streaming? What are you doing to share the story?
It's a great question. So, when we're putting ourselves out there, it depends what platform you're on, right? So Facebook is going to be the most family oriented. So if you're a family person, I would stick to showing your lifestyle around your children and stuff like that. You don't need to be ramming the business down their throat the entire time. That's people want to do business with other people that they know, like, and trust. So I would kind of start with and using Facebook with more of a family kind of oriented vibe about it. But still, at least once a week, putting it out there like, wow, there's so many good real estate deals out there. I'm finding good deals. And it's really that simple. DM me if you want to take a look at some of the deals that I'm looking at. I have found, and you always want to be putting yourself out there in the most, genuine family oriented type of vibe. I mean, nobody wants to do deals with somebody who's trying to look cool and, just trying to be a knucklehead out there. So put it out there like that. But I would say, Jay, the number one way to what we're talking about, put yourself out there, is through texting, right? And listen to this. This is so gold. I never let a holiday slip by without literally sending hundreds of texts. And, I do a copy and paste template type of text, and I do it right from my phone, but I add in there, like if the guy's name is Joe and his wife is Joni, it's some of my lenders, I copy and paste and put in there, it's like, hey, happy Easter. Hope the weather's turning around for you, whatever's going on. And let's make it a great year, with a little emoji of a duck or something like that, with a little chicken and an egg, like every single, yeah, of course, every holiday, you should be sending out hundreds of text messages, and not talking about business, but just wishing people a happy Easter, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, whatever. I'm talking Father's Day. If they're a father, if it's a man in your life and he's got children, happy Father's Day. I'm thinking about you. So constantly stay in front of people through texting, copy and paste a template message, but then type in their name. So it is custom, right? And that is going to be key. So just staying in front of them that way. And then when it's not a holiday, just kind of sending a random text, it's like, hey, check this out. This is what I've been up to. They're more likely to respond to you if you're kind of in communication with them a little bit through holidays and stuff like that. But yeah, you should be working your cell phone crazy and sending holiday text messages.
I love that. This word of private money, sometimes we refer to it as relationship capital.
Yes.
And that's what you're doing. You're nurturing relationships honestly, sincerely, genuinely. A lot of times, as you were just sharing, no strings attached.
No.
And I love that, because you're not just, reaching out to somebody out of the blue when it's, all about me, 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 me.
Yeah, you got to be genuine. You've got to be authentic if you're going to be really. I mean, that's the way we should live our lives, Jay. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've raised millions and millions and millions of private money. You sort of answered this question, but let's get into the weeds. What are your favorite ways to raise private money? You've already mentioned two of them. You're sharing with people on social media what you're doing, what you got going on. You're texting people to have yourself in front of them, wishing them well. But, take it down the road a little bit further. That's putting yourself out there. But now, when it's time to have them pledge money or whatever, or you've got deals to fund, take us on down the road a little bit further, how you actually get the deals funded and, having a private lender fund your deal.
So the biggest thing you want to really help the lender learn and understand is the distinction and the difference between you as an individual raising private money against a single asset and like a fund, and really compare the two and make sure they understand it is so much better and so much safer for this lender to lend to you one-off on one asset rather than having their money mixed into some syndication and mixed into some fund. Because if the deal goes sideways with this fund manager, who gets their money out first? It's a big fighting. The only people that get the money out of a fund that's going bad is the attorneys. They always get paid. Everybody else loses their money. When it comes to what we do, which is raising money on an affordable house, affordable asset, single family house, right? There's one lender, one borrower. If the deal was to go sideways, they don't have to fight with anyone to get their money back. It's okay to talk about worst case scenario. And in this worst case scenario, the lender is the safest by being the only lender involved on this mortgage, on this lien against this property. So really make sure the lender understands how much safer it is to be giving you all the money that you need for the purchase and the acquisition and the rehab secured against this one single asset. And another reason I love the single family homes is it's the easiest to do due diligence on. I mean, when these private lenders are, considering lending to like some big syndication, and you know how these syndicators work, Jay, they send a fancy PowerPoint presentation with spreadsheets and this, that, and the other. Come on. Nobody understands that. It's very difficult to know if this is a good deal or not. With you and with us and the way you're teaching people to raise money, it's simple. You send someone a Zillow screenshot. Look, everybody, the house is worth 200. I'm only borrowing 140 from you. I mean, everybody gets that. It's easy. You're the only lender in this deal. If something was to go wrong, you're going to step in and take over the house. And we take it to the next level. So yes, we sign a mortgage. Yes, we sign a promissory note, but we also sign a deed in lieu at the closing. And that's for the lender to have and to hold, not record. But if I was to disappear off the face of the earth, they don't even need to go through the judicial system to take the house back and foreclose and all that. They just go and file the deed, and I'll deed it up right to them. They have a deed from me to them that they can have and hold. I mean, it is the most secure thing possible. So, they're trusting us with their money to do the right thing and do a good real estate deal. We're trusting them that they don't just snake the house out from under us. There is mutual trust. It's reciprocity. That's how these relationships need to work.
Dave, you do a beautiful job of breaking this down and just keeping it simple and so easy to follow along. And, we got thousands listening to this podcast. Dave, there are a lot of people listening to this show that have investment capital and or retirement funds, and they'd love to be a passive investor without having to negotiate deals. Do you have any opportunities coming up to where you could bring in some more private lenders and investors in your world?
Yes, we do. We're very active in the business. In fact, if any lender wanted to check out our house buying company, I encourage you to do that. That's, if you don't mind me sharing, it's sellhousecolumbus.com, because we're out of the Columbus, Ohio market. But if you go on there and click on testimonials, your finger is going to get tired from scrolling so much, Jay, because we get so many positive reviews for our house buying company, so many testimonials, because we are actively marketing as a big We Buy Houses company here in the state of Ohio, based out of Columbus. So yeah, I mean, we always have opportunities. I have numerous things. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in contracts right now. I got one. We're getting it for 114. ARV is 185. This just came up today. This is all day because we're actively marketing. We're active in the business. And if you go to that website, you'll see we're a very professional home buying company. So absolutely, we have opportunities, and every single one of these is going to be funded by a private lender.
Again, that website is www.housecolumbus.com. Did I get that right, Dave?
Yes, you did. And I'm very proud of that. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that, Jay. I wasn't sure. I didn't expect that, but it's something I'm very proud of.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're listening to this show and are interested in getting a really nice rate of return safely and securely, I'm telling you, there's no other real estate investor that's got more integrity, more honest, more credible than Dave Payerchin. Reach out to him if you want to get the safe, conservative investment and get a great return. Now, you got another website I want you to talk about, Dave, before we wrap up.
Absolutely.
That's got a lot of curiosity surrounding it, and that is www.creamlaunch.com. What in the world? Tell everybody is creamlaunch.com.
Creamlaunch.com. I mean, you're going to learn to, you'll set up a call with us. That's for our coaching business. And here's the deal, man. We are so passionate about real estate, and especially owning rentals, that cash flow. We help other people do it. So we have a done for you. It's not even, I'm reluctant to even call it a coaching business, Jay, because it's like a consulting business. We take people, and the majority of the people we work with have full-time W-2 jobs. But I think everybody should own 1 to 5 houses. Just own it for the tax benefits and get some positive cash flow. But we have owned hundreds of rental properties, and we help other people acquire rentals in solid marketplaces like here in Ohio, where we own and operate. And we work with people all over the country. It's a done for you real estate coaching program. I mean, you're going to learn tons about real estate, but I mean, it's literally at this point done for you. We get people to contact us, and we basically will link you up with a deal finder, a licensed realtor who we're going to create a custom buy box for you. We're going to help you get linked up with the right property manager, paying the right terms on how to manage your manager. We got this stuff dialed in, Jay. So if somebody's interested, even if you're not interested in being a full-time real estate investor, that's cool. In fact, the majority of the people we work with just want to acquire some assets. You get the tax benefits from owning a good cash flow piece of real estate, build wealth in addition to your 401k. If you got a W-2, perfect. Don't quit your day job. Just start getting some assets, and it's going to serve you well. We're big believers in real estate, especially the single family affordable housing, and we're helping other people acquire assets for themselves and setting people free. It's real. We've set people free, man. So
I love it. I love it. Again, that website is www.cream, CREAM, launch, LAUNCH.com. And
set up a
that
call. The best thing you can do is set up a call. I think the video on that might be a little old. I don't know, but just like that's what we do. It's a done for you program, and just set up a call. We'll take it from there. I think it might be a little bit old, the video, just so you know.
Okay, no worries. Dave, my Lance, thank you so much for joining me. Final parting thoughts.
My final parting thought is this. I already told you in the beginning that the core four is the most essential thing to your life, right? First things first is your relationship to, whatever your higher power is. My higher power is God. And when you build that relationship with your mindset, you have that mindset, that spiritual foundation, right? Make that the cornerstone of your life. And then you can start to work on any limiting beliefs that you're currently carrying around. And the biggest limiting belief out there, Jay, is that I'm not enough. And don't worry, it's not your fault if this is ingrained in your subconscious and you were born into it. I mean, this old limiting belief that I'm not enough and, I don't deserve to be wealthy or deserve to be wealthy, this was ingrained in us all the way back when there was kings and queens and pharaohs and stuff like that. The people just basically worked for the king. We were all servants on some level. I mean, so it is ingrained in people. We're going to need to break through that. And the way you start to work on the limiting belief of I'm not enough is to improve your self-love. So the best way to start working on yourself in the personal development and build up this self-love is start to fulfill commitments with yourself. And I suggest starting with small commitments. It could be something as simple as every day I'm going to make the bed. Every day I'm not going to go to bed until the dishes are put in the sink or put in the dishwasher. Like, we start with these daily habits, these small daily habits, but we never miss, right? We never miss our daily habits, whether it be, I'm going to do 20 push-ups today. And every day I do my push-ups. I never miss. And you stick to these daily habits that are small, but that is going to start to build trust with yourself. You're going to start to be somebody that fulfills their word to themselves. And when you start to trust yourself, you start to like yourself. When you start to like yourself, by golly, you start to love yourself. And when you start to love yourself, you start to feel more deserving, because you are deserving, right? You do deserve it. We just need to break through this limiting belief. So the best way to do it is to start building trust with yourself through small daily habits. Build on that, but just never miss. And once you start to work on that self-worth, that self-love, the world is your oyster.
Dave, thank you so much for joining me. God bless you.
God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Got it. And there you have it, another amazing episode of Raising Private Money. And listen, you are just one conversation away from making a huge impact on somebody else in your life. So I need your help. I want you to think of one person, just one person, to share this episode with that you know will have an impact on their lives. So be sure to share, like, subscribe. And if you happen to be watching on YouTube, be sure and click that bell. If you happen to be watching on LinkedIn, I love to get messages from my LinkedIn connections. So there you have it. I look forward to seeing you right here on the next episode of Raising Private Money.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide. And download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.